He liked to pretend that he was dead. And I said, well, you know you're really dead, right? And he said, yes.
The Monroe Institute is about the exploration of consciousness. This hemisync technology
is not like a drug, it's not like a chemical. I felt something bumping against my shoulder. What I was bumping against was the ceiling.
Lifeliners is about soul retrieval.
Nothing is outside the range of our perception.
So I wouldn't say we're taking to a place where newly dead people go. You'll be going in to do your first retrieval.
You're going to rescue ghosts.
This is the first step along your path to a gateway beyond which is discovery, your own discovery of reality, of truth, of who and what you are. Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body.
When I was in graduate school back in the late 80s, I was walking through a used bookstore and a book literally fell off the shelf at my feet. And I looked at it and I went, wow, that looks interesting. It's an early version of Robert Monroe's book. At that time it was called Out of Body.
Because I am more than physical matter. I deeply desire to expand.
In the 90s, they said I had a terminal heart disease. A year later, after thinking I was dead or going to die, it was a misdiagnosis. That will got to get you in touch with the other side and what can be and all that sort of thing.
I can remember as a young child having had experiences and not quite understanding what was going on. I guess I was around 20 or so. There was a class being offered at a community college, and Robert Monroe actually came to the class.
To experience, to know, to understand.
When I was young, I used to read 3 and 4 books at a time. After Vietnam, I stopped doing that. I really wasn't aware that I'd stopped doing it. It just slowly faded away. And 5 years ago, a synchronicity occurred for me one day. I started reading voraciously about the soul primarily. I got to the Robert Monroe books and dove right in.
To use such greater energies and energy systems as may be beneficial to me and to those near and close to me.
The Monroe Institute is about the exploration of consciousness.
By setting one kind of signal, say 100 hertz signal in this ear, and then 104 hertz over here, the differential, that 4 hertz, is synthesized by the mind, the brain.
This hemisync binaural beat technology is providing us with a greater consciousness access to everywhere, every when.
It's not like a drug. It's not like a chemical. The mind can accept it or reject it. We have a state that we can achieve by hemisync that lets your mind be awake and your body asleep.
Nothing in existence is outside the range of our perception. Remote viewing experiences, nonverbal communications with other energies and energy systems, an ability to contact those that have passed through death's door.
The Monroe Institute is a place where people come who mostly have read Robert Monroe's books. Many of them come hoping to have the out-of-body experience. Robert Monroe started out in radio back in the early 50s when they started doing research and development to see if people could learn while they were sleeping.
And the first problem is how to get people to sleep. We began to use sound. I was the chief subject because I demanded it, because I was very curious.
When he started to have what we now call the out-of-body experience.
And on this one famous night, as we're in 1958, suddenly I felt something bumping against my shoulder. What I was bumping against was the ceiling of my bedroom. I thought, where am I? This is a funny kind of dream. Down there in the bed below me was my wife, and beside her was a man. Then this great shock came over me, because the person in bed with my wife was me. And then the fright came, the terror.
When he started having the out-of-body experiences, he thought he was dying.
What am I doing? Am I dying? Let me get back quick, something. So I went through the air like this, bang, and got back in the body.
It kept happening to him, and it kept happening to him.
It took a full year to finally come to the conclusion that this was real, that it was not a dream, that it was not an hallucination, that it actually took place.
Because of his curiosity is why we're all sitting here today. I think that you're here this week for reasons that you don't even know. I've just turned a very youthful 62. Feel every now and then the approach of what Bob called the exit point. And this particular program was designed to look at the possibilities of what may take place as we move into the next phase of life that we call death. For me, it's been a family kind of thing. Robert Monroe was married to my mother, Nancy. I can remember when the idea of the Monroe Institute was at the dining room table at a farm about 12 miles from here. Coming back after, a big nap or something, he would look somewhat flummoxed, and he would wait, and then he would start talking about these experiences that he had, and talking about seeing those that had passed over who looked confused. Bob felt that there was a region where there were certain souls who had died and didn't know that they had died. He called these subtle realms focus levels. You're multidimensional beings. You're in all these places. It's simply a matter of where you choose to put your focus.
And the signals that we'll be listening to in these different focus levels are not bigger or deeper or higher. They're actually, in each level as you go up, they're much more refined. There's more combinations that keep layering.
Okay, looks like we have all of our ready lights on, and we're ready to begin our next exercise.
Move now to focus 12, the state of expanded awareness, using the method you have learned. Begin now. You will move now to focus 15 by the method you have learned, by counting slowly in your mind from 12 to 15. Focus 15, where time does not exist, where time has no meaning for you. Begin now.
Bob simply labeled spaces, numbers, as guideposts. Are these places real? I believe that they are.
You're going to move through the colors to the white of focus 21. With the white of focus 21, which is a bridge to other energy systems. A bridge that can lead you beyond physical human experience to a freedom that you have not consciously realized in this existence. A bridge that can allow you to experience other realities. The bridge that allows you to visit and return from a realm beyond physical human experience. Move into the white, the sum of all the colors, focus 21, and I will join you there.
Bob's main goal for all of this work was to get humanity to remember that we are truly more than our physical bodies. To remind people that they are spiritual beings having a human experience and not the other way around.
When I made the decision to follow this path, I don't want you to misunderstand this. This path isn't a religion. It's an individual path. We all meet here. As I read Bob Monroe's books, something really struck me. He wrote, "We know it well. There is no beginning. There is no end. There's only change. There is no teacher. There is no student. There's only remembering. There is no good. There is no evil. There's only expression. There is no union. There is no sharing. There's only one. There is no joy. There is no sadness. There's only love. There is no greater. There is no lesser. There's only balance."
And we're going to go to where he would call the newcomers. He called them new goners. I call it Club Dead.
Lifelines, of course, is about soul retrieval and trying to help those souls that get stuck move along on their natural path to where they should be going.
He found this space that he called the park. And in the park, there was an opportunity for those who had crossed over, for human consciousness to go, where they could sort of think about whether they wanted to come back into the Earth life system. Coming back was a little bit fraught with danger because of how addictive it is being here in the physical and forgetting who you are. This is a place where everybody's park will certainly look different. But is it a real place? I believe it is. We took the opportunity to expand into something where we could start to be of service.
I've taken Lifelines 3 times. It's exciting just to take it again because I never know what to expect.
And be prepared to be surprised, because what you think is going to happen, you probably get that and much more. It's quite an adventure. So I'm glad you're all here, and I think we're going to have a great week.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to go to do your first retrieval. You may be able to observe a story, or you may be able to observe an actual person standing there. It could be also a feeling. Sometimes when you're holding the hand or you're helping someone go back, you may suddenly feel they've dropped off. They've found a greater resonance in someplace else, what Bob calls the belief systems territory. You do not need to fret over that. They've gone to exactly where they need to be.
Interaction with him. What's your name? Hi, and where are you from? And and doing this interaction builds a resonance even further.
Name, age, where they were from, how did they die?
What if they don't know they died? You said find out when the year they died.
That's for the ones that know.
But the ones that don't know, how would they behave?
Right. And so I wouldn't say, well, I'm taking you to a place where newly dead people go. Keep it kind of light and chatty. I would say, hi, how are you doing? Well, I'm lost. I can't seem to find my way. And you can go, whoa, so what happened? I fell off my horse. And I can't find my horse. I might know of a place where they've got some horses. You may look for some people like someone they recognize. You don't know. We're not worried about what we look like. Trust your process. Trust your intuition. Trust whatever's kind of appearing before you. Remember, you can't do anything that's wrong.
I think this kind of work is fun to do. It's interesting to me, and there's always some kind of surprise that happens.
As I was coming here, and I got an email that an uncle had just died. I'm hopeful that I can see him.
I would like to run into some people that I've known, or people that I can identify by name or by place.
All right, we're still waiting for just a few more ready lights. Just get settled in. All you have to do is relax. We're going to go to focus 23. This is the area for the new goners, or the newcomers, or Club Dead. Remember to start to sense presence. You're not necessarily going to see something. When we use the word see, we're not talking optically. Now, just to remind you, you'll be going in to do your first retrieval. Simply allow this process to take place, trust your own process, and allow it to happen, and we'll see you when you get back. So off you go.
Now in your special place in Focus 27, move out into the park itself, onto the walks, gardens, trees, and ask for help in making a rescue run. Ask now. Move back to Focus 23. Now in Focus 23, select a person newly arrived in Focus 23. Now that you have made your selection, begin to escort the newcomer back to the reception center, the way station in Focus 27. And as you do, ask the newcomer his name during the most recent physical life sojourn. Find as much information about that person as you can. Now say goodbye to the newcomer and add the warmth of friendship.
We would really like to hear, for those of you who would like to share, about your first retrieval.
Found a little girl named Venus who was 12 years old. She said she lost her parents when the big wave came.
And I got the impression it was like a shipwreck. But this seemed to happen off the coast of Madagascar.
I ran into a hiker. I was actually mountain climbing on Mount Rainier, Washington. I saw a light, and I kind of focused in on that light. I was at the bottom of what appeared to be a large mountain, and there was this man who was relatively young. He said he was 27, and I asked him his name, and he said Daniel Bledsoe. He said, I think I've fallen. I said, well, where are we? And he said, it's Mount Rainier. He said, this has been a while. He said, nobody's found me. He was kind of frightened. He said, I need to get back to my wife. And I said, what is your wife's name? And he said, her name is Cecilia. I again sort of escorted him to the park, or the area where I'm instructed to take the people I retrieve. I was surprised, that names and faces and people would just come to me like that. They came very quickly.
That's the way you do it. That's the way you do it.
I would have thought I would have gotten more resistance. I would say things like, I'm here to help you. And that just seemed to be what they wanted to hear. They'd ask me questions, well, where are you from? And then one guy asked me if I was an angel. I said, no, not quite. And I said, but I can help you. And he goes, that's okay. You see their features, you know that they're a human being or a spirit of a human. But sometimes it's faint and sometimes it's not so faint. And if it can help any soul, boy, I'm on board. I'm going to do that.
When we first started doing the Lifeline program, Bob very much wanted to validate what people were receiving informationally from a soul retrieval. Well, sometimes people got a lot of information. Sometimes people would actually go and perhaps find a gravestone, which that would tickle Bob. He'd be excited about that. Or sometimes they would sort of overstep a boundary from time to time and look in the phone book. They would then call to see. Sometimes they were hung up on. Other times they weren't hung up on, but perhaps just it was very scary for people who weren't anticipating that. I also think we got enough information to know that it works.